Tēnā tātou e te whānau. This is piece number 26 and is titled God is Love. Not long after Ian Tongi won the American Idol, Cris reached out to me in hopes to get her family story engraved into a guitar. The purpose of making this guitar was so that she could have something to gift her husband that was meaningful and that helped capture the story that they have in their family. After many conversations back and forth on email and over call, we were finally able to come up with this story and create this design based on those specific details. The design begins in the center of the lower half of the guitar. This flower shape represents the union of Christopher's parents, Dorothy and Floyd. The left side of the design represents Christopher's family and those who are close to him, and the right side represents Chris's family and those who are close to her. This part of the process is still very flexible as I'm adapting the shapes and designs to tell the story. These are the tools that I use to etch the design onto the guitar. The surface is very thin, so I have to be careful as I'm doing it. Drawing out the design on the iPad first is a very crucial part in my whole process to make sure that I have all the names and designs matched up to help tell the story in the correct way. What I really enjoyed about this piece is the crown of thorns that was placed around the sound hole. This was a collaborative idea with Chris's input to have that placed around the sound hole, which I think turned out really well. Now, after we've established the design and are happy with how it'll look, I start to begin the etching. By this time, I've done the design about 3 times. First, as I'm talking to the customer, I design it in my head, then I take it out of my head and put it onto the iPad, and then from the iPad I redraw it onto the guitar. So you can see it's a very time-consuming process, but by the time I'm etching it onto the guitar, I have a really good idea on what I want it to look like. The handpiece, or the tool that I'm using, is a high-speed rotary tool, also called 400XS, I believe. What I love about using this handpiece is that I can get very precise cuts into the sound body, and I recognize that it's a very delicate surface and can affect the sound. Over the years of doing over 400 plus ukuleles and 27 guitars, for all sorts of clients and musicians who are very aware of the sound projection, haven't really noticed a difference when I have created their guitars into artwork. I know this can be a concern for many, but there's a few things that I've done to make sure that the integrity of the cuts or the etchings keep well over the years. And one of those things is coating the etchings with a sealant, and then after the sealant dries, I place in an acrylic paint that helps the design stand out. I wanted to represent all the details in the story, but at the same time keep it subtle. Both of these C's represent Cris and Cris and their side of the family. Another unique touch on this guitar is the custom inlay on the headstock. This hand-cut mother-of-pearl crucifix added a nice touch to complete the piece. This part of the process is important not only to protect the guitar, but to help the design stand out. Personally, I love the contrast that is achieved when the etchings are filled. I use a special pigment in the acrylic paint to help it shine and stand out. Because there was a custom inlay on the headstock, it's now time to reattach the strings and the tune pegs. And here it is, whānau, the final piece, God is Love. Guitar number 26. This holds Cris and Christopher's story in all its detail, represented in this Polynesian Pacific collaborative design. I believe we all have a story and it deserves to be told. It was an honor to be a part of this process, and I know as we continue to share our stories that we can help strengthen ourselves and each other, and more importantly, the generation to come. Made with aroha, Sam.